Hello, in this video we will be looking at polynomial division using both synthetic division and a generic rectangle. So we are going to divide x to the fourth minus 10x squared minus 2x plus 4 by x plus 3. Here's the first important thing about synthetic division. Synthetic division you can only use if you are dividing by a linear equation, and it must be in the form of just x plus or minus an h value. If you have 2x plus 3, you can't do synthetic division. So it has to just be x plus or minus the number. So synthetic division is just another way to divide division. So what we're going to do is we're going to put on the outside here, we're going to put the 0 of the function. So if our factor is x plus 3, that means our 0 is negative 3. We take what we are dividing by, set it equal to 0, and get that. Across the top, we are going to put coefficients of the other part. And the other thing is with the coefficients, we must have every single exponent listed from the highest down to the lowest. So we are starting with x to the fourth. That is 1x to the fourth. Our next term should be x cubed. If you notice, there is no x cubed there, so we're going to put in 0 for x cubed, then negative 10x squared, negative 2x, and then positive 4. I'm going to skip a line, and we are going to simplify this. We bring down the first number. We then multiply negative 3 times 1 to get us negative 3, and then we add these values together. So 0 and negative 3 gets us negative 3. We then multiply negative 3 times negative 3 gets us positive 9. We add these together, gets us negative 1. We multiply negative 3 times negative 1, that gets us positive 3. Add these together. This is going to get us positive 1. We multiply negative 3 times 1, and that gets us negative 3. We add these together, and this gets us positive 1. So now what does this represent on the bottom? These represent the coefficients to the solution, and because our last value is not 0, this is the remainder, okay? And as we go to write our answer, we're going to write the answer in the form of a polynomial and then plus the remainder separately. So the other thing that happens is that our degree of our term drops by 1. So the degree will drop by 1. So what does that mean? The original graph started with an exponent of x to the fourth. So we're going to take that and drop that by 1. So this is going to become 1x cubed minus 3x squared minus x plus 1 plus a remainder of 1 over x plus 3. And this is our polynomial division. So what does that really tell us though? Because we did not get 0 as our answer, that means that x plus 3 is not a 0 of the original graph, which means it will not be an x-intercept. So now let's do one more example. So this time we're going to put positive 2 on the outside, and then inside we have 6, negative 19, 16, and then negative 4. And again, this time we had all the values, 3, 2, 1, 0 for our degree. So we bring down the 6, multiply gets us 12. Add those together, we get negative 7. Multiply gets us negative 14. Add those together, we get 2. Multiply gets us 4. Add those together, it gets us 0. So what does that tell us? That tells us that the graph of 6x cubed minus 12x squared plus 16x minus 4 will touch at x equals 2 because, or it could go through there as well, we don't have the whole factor yet, because we have a 0 at the end. So that means we are left with 6x squared minus 7x plus 2 as our solution to the division. Now we're going to look at doing this division in a different way as well. We're going to use the box method for division. Many of you were taught the generic rectangle for doing the multiplication, and so we're going to use the same tool for division. but we have a few different changes, okay? So what are we going to do? Well, in the end, the box will be written, and we're going to have some pieces here. I probably have too many lines, but that's okay. But in the end, our solution of what we are trying to get to is going to go across the bottom. And again, it needs to have every value there. So we're starting with x to the fourth. Then we're going to have 0x cubed. We're going to have minus 10x squared, minus 2x, and then plus 4. So we had to add in the 0x cubed in there. Now what we're dividing by is going to go across the side, x and then plus 3 here. So now what we're going to do is we need to figure out what is the value that should be at the top of this box so that our division, so that when we multiply the blue box by the side, we get the answer on the bottom. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with what we're trying to find. We're trying to find a value for x to the fourth. So x times what gets us x to the fourth? Well, that is x to the third. We now do the multiplication, and this gets us 3x cubed here on the side. Now, across this diagonal, it should add up to be the number that's underneath it. So it should add up to be 0x cubed. Well, since we already have 3x cubed, that means we need a negative 3x cubed, so that when we add 3x cubed and negative 3x cubed, we get 0x cubed. So what value would make that happen? Well, the value that would make that happen would be a negative 3x squared, because negative 3x squared times x gets you negative 3x cubed. So now we multiply our second piece again, we get negative 9x squared. And now we're going to go across this diagonal again, and we're going to say, what do we need to add in there so that we can get negative 10x squared? Well, that's going to be negative 1x squared. So now we can multiply through and make that happen. So if we multiply through, x times what gets us negative 1x squared? It is negative x. So then we multiply our next column and row, and we get negative 3x. Now again, we're going to go across the diagonal. We're going to say, what do we need to multiply, or what do we need to add in there so that our total is negative 2x? Well, that is a positive 1x, because positive 1x and negative 3x gets us negative 2x. So then on our multiplication piece, it's going to be x times 1 gets us 1x, and then we can multiply the next one, which is 3. And then on our next diagonal again, we need to say, what do we need to add in there so we get our value on the bottom, and that's a 1. This 1 that is left here, this is the remainder. So what happens? Well, our equation to x to the fourth minus 10x squared minus 2x plus 4 divided by x plus 3 would get us the solution on the top, x cubed minus 3x squared minus x plus 1, with a remainder of positive 1 over x plus 3. And this is our solution. Now, let's do one more example. So here is our last example by doing the box, okay? So what are we going to have here? Well, this time, going across, we are going to have 3 lines because we have to have x squared, positive x, and positive 1 in there. Then we have our pieces on the bottom. And the same thing is going to be true. We need x to the fourth, 0x cubed, 0x squared, 0x, and then negative 1. We have to have every single placeholder in there, even though it just gave us x to the fourth minus 1 to begin with. So now here is our division. So x to the fourth goes on the inside box, which means then we would multiply that by x squared. So now we're going to multiply each of them individually. So this will get us x cubed and then 1x squared on the bottom. Now across this diagonal, we need 0x to the third, which means we need negative x to the third in there. So in order to make that negative x to the third, we're going to multiply this by negative x. I don't like that fluorescent green, so we'll make that a darker green. So negative x. So now that gets us negative x to the third, negative x squared, and then negative x on afterwards. And now we need 0x squared. Well, if we go along this diagonal, this is going to get us 0x squared because we already have that in there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a placeholder there of 0 to get our 0x squared to see what our remainder is, because we still need our final remainder. So what happens here? Well, we're going to get 0x and then 0. Now we need 0x again. So in order to get 0x, we're going to have a positive x to make positive x and negative x get us 0x. But what do we multiply x squared by to get x? We can't multiply it by anything. So this becomes part of our remainder. Now we still need the value, the constant. So we have 0, so that means we need negative 1, and that becomes our remainder. So this gets us x to the fourth minus 1 divided by x squared plus x plus 1 would get us an answer of x squared minus x plus a remainder of x minus 1 over x squared plus x plus 1. So in this case, our remainder is a linear equation because our denominator is a quadratic. Your remainder should always have a lower degree in the numerator than in the denominator.